Welcome to the Deep Dives.
Yeah, where we really try to distill the key insights for you.
Exactly. Today we're jumping into emerging technologies, what's important, where the opportunities might lie.
And we're pulling from the materials you provided and also Rajamanik Mantanamuthu's book, Emerging Technologies for Profit.
That's the one. So the mission, really, is to cut through the jargon.
Get to the core of why these techs matter and, where the potential is. Give you those aha moments.
Without feeling overwhelmed, hopefully. Oh, and actually, before we properly dive in, a quick heads up for you.
Yes, good point.
You can find a whole load of tech courses and ebooks over at rajamanicum.com.
And there's a special discount for you if you use the coupon code QPT.
QPT. Got it. So we know you're here because you want to get knowledgeable, fast, and get it right.
And we're going to do our best to deliver just that.
Okay, let's unpack this. Where do we start?
Well, what really jumped out at me from the intro of the book was this idea of the early bird advantage.
Right, getting in early.
Yeah, the author argues pretty strongly that entering these new tech fields early, it just makes success easier, less competition, basically.
It's that classic first mover thing, but specifically for tech. And he uses his own story, doesn't he?
He does, makes it very real. He talks about his YouTube channel starting relatively smoothly, but then contrasts it sharply with trying to build software or websites later on.
Where it was much harder.
Much harder. He struggled with building and keeping a team because established companies were just scooping up talent.
Ah, okay. So the people who got into software way back when had a clearer run at it.
Pretty much. A much less crowded field.
So the takeaway for you listening is maybe getting informed now about these newer emerging techs could put you in a similar advantageous spot down the line.
Exactly. It poses that question. What are today's equivalents of those early software?
Good question.
And building on that, the author then talks about another big shift, the move towards video.
Oh, yeah. That's undeniable.
He puts it down to, all the tech advancements, faster computers, better internet, powerful phones.
It makes sense. I mean, how do most people learn stuff now? Fixing something, learning a skill.
You go to YouTube, right?
Yeah. The book mentions traditional training centers declining because everyone's watching online videos instead.
That's the example used, yeah. It shows how these platforms have disrupted learning, but he also points out it's not all straightforward.
Right. The YouTube example, again, it's a bit of a double-edged sword.
Precisely. Huge opportunity, yes, but also massive competition now.
And the platform rules keep changing, making it tougher for newcomers.
Yeah, it's a mature space, very different from the early days.
So he uses that complexity, the challenges of places like YouTube,
as a springboard, yeah. To talk about the real untapped potential in the truly emerging technologies.
The next gold rushes, as he calls them.
That's the term, where it's still kind of the Wild West, opportunity-wise.
Okay, this part was pretty exciting. The sheer range of things he lists, it's kind of mind-boggling.
It really is. Should we run through some?
Let's do it. Give people a flavor. So we've got things like 3D printers for making custom gadgets.
Robots in factories, obviously. Drones for deliveries.
Graphene, that super material.
Nanotech manipulating atoms. AI assistants predicting what we need.
Gene editing. Rewriting life itself. That's huge.
Desalination plants for water. Virtual worlds. Hyper-reality stuff.
Wearables tracking health. Maybe even thoughts eventually. New kinds of batteries, wireless power.
Driverless cars, solar power becoming more dominant, quantum computers.
Quantum computers tackling problems we can't even imagine solving now.
And even brain-computer interface, direct communication.
Wow. Okay, seeing it listed like that,
Yeah.
It really hits you. The scale of innovation has...
It's an aha moment, right? Just the sheer breadth of what's potentially coming.
But there's always a but, isn't there?
Yes. A crucial dose of realism is needed. The author is clear. Not all of these.
Not every emerging tech becomes the next big thing. Some fizzle out.
Exactly. So you need to be careful where you invest your time, your money, your energy. It's not a guarantee.
He uses AI as an example for this too, right?
Yeah, a great example. The basic ideas for AI were around for ages.
Decades ago, yeah.
But it wasn't really useful on a large scale until we got the computing power to handle it.
So the success of one tech often relies on progress in another related tech.
Absolutely. It's all interconnected, like a web.
And for you, listening, wanting to stay informed but not get lost in it all, this really underlines why focusing selectively makes sense. Understanding the connections, maybe.
That's a good way to put it. And to make AI less abstract, the book gives loads of current real-world examples.
Which really helps ground it. What sort of things?
Okay, so AI is being used right now in drug discovery, speeding that up.
Okay.
Counting elephants from space for conservation, generating 3D holograms instantly.
Wow.
detecting plant diseases like powdery mildew in crops, analyzing satellite images for environmental changes.
Thought-to-speech systems.
Yep, for people who can't speak easily. Predicting stroke recovery bar, fighting online disinformation,
That's a bit.
teaching robots facial expressions, diagnosing skin conditions from photos, driverless taxis,
We're starting to see those.
pinpointing local pollution sources, exploring the molecular world for science, improving telehealth,
Which boomed recently.
speeding up drug development and vaccine delivery. It's really broad.
It's incredible. And the author even used it himself, didn't he? For something practical.
Yeah, for creating YouTube subtitles automatically, a simple everyday benefit that saves time.
See, it's not all sci-fi.
Not at all. And beyond that, the book touches on the research frontier, like generic AI, more human-like AI,
Neuromorphic computing, brain-like chips.
quantum computing components, and obviously gene editing tools like CRISPR and their medical potential.
Okay, so we've covered the early advantage, the video shift, this huge landscape of tech, the need for caution. Now, the big question, how do you actually potentially make money from it?
Right, the profit part of the book title. It lays out several routes.
Like consulting.
Exactly. Businesses need help figuring out how to use AI or blockchain or whatever it is. If you have expertise, you can guide them.
Makes sense. Companies probably don't have that expertise in-house yet. What else?
Developing apps or software that actually use these new techs. Think augmented reality apps or Internet of Things devices.
Okay, building the tools.
And because there's demand for this, there's demand for people who can teach it. So teaching and training, online courses, workshops.
Sharing the knowledge.
The book also mentions digital assets, maybe related to crypto or NFTs, if that's your thing.
And security, that's got to be huge.
Absolutely. New tech means new security challenges. So providing security and privacy services is a big one.
Plus creating content like ebooks, tutorials, and even design. Like designing how we interact with this new stuff.
Yeah, user interface design for new technologies, all potential avenues.
The bottom line seems to be keep learning, stay adaptable.
That's the core message. Things change fast. You need to keep up.
Now, the book also gets practical about setting up shop online, right? Talks about websites.
It does. It
Yeah.
emphasizes having your own website as a sort of home base for an online business, even if you use other platforms too.
And gives some practical tips.
Yeah, pretty useful stuff, like domain registration, mentioning GoDaddy. Choosing hosting gives HostGator as a decent example. Managing your DNS.
The technical bits that connect your domain name to your actual site.
Right, and stressing how important choosing that domain name is. Needs to be memorable, reflect your brand.
And not accidentally step on someone else's trademark.
Crucial point. It also covers the cost initial registration versus renewal fee, and even suggests free blogs if you're starting really small.
What about hosting?
Pick one that fits now but lets you grow. Scalability. And think about your audience. Where are they? That might affect your server location choice.
Or using a CDN like Cloudflare for global speed.
Exactly, to make sure the site loads fast everywhere.
But, as the book says, building the website. That's just step one.
That's the easy part, relatively. The real challenge is getting people to it.
Attracting customers, marketing.
Yeah. Digital marketing, lead capture, follow-ups. It's an ongoing effort.
And the site itself needs to perform well, fast loading, works on phones,
Absolutely critical. It also mentions building social.
like credibility.
Yeah. Maybe selling your first ebook on Amazon to get reviews, or doing freelance work on platforms to build a reputation before you try to sell directly from your own site.
Smart. And promotion methods.
The usual suspects: SEO, getting found on Google, social media, paid ads, PCC, email lists, affiliate marketing.
And the interesting bit is that for these emerging tech niches, the competition for SEO might actually be lower right now.
Potentially, yeah. An opportunity.
Okay, so lots on tech, lots on business,
Yeah.
but the author ends on a slightly different note.
He does a really nice touch, actually, a reflection on what really matters.
Beyond the technology.
Yeah. He points out that while tech changes constantly, core human values don't. Things like love, courage, gratitude, integrity.
Those are the things that bring lasting happiness, not the latest gadget.
Exactly. It's a grounding perspective. Technology is important, especially for careers, but it isn't everything. Fundamental sources of peace and fulfillment stay the same.
That's a really valuable point to include. Keeps things in perspective.
Definitely.
Okay, so let's try and wrap up this deep dive. We've looked at that early bird advantage in new tech.
The big shift to video.
This huge, almost overwhelming landscape of innovation.
The need to be smart and careful about where you focus.
And then some real tangible ways people might engage with this, maybe even profit from.
And underlying it all, the need to just keep learning and be ready to adapt, which ties right back to why you, our listener, are here wanting to be informed.
It really does give you a lot to chew on. Makes you think, which of these areas actually sparks my interest?
Where could you maybe start digging a bit deeper? Find your own potential early bird need.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Lot to consider. And just one final reminder for you.
Don't forget rajamanicum.com for those tech courses and ebooks.
Right. And use the code QPT for that special discount.